By this time my visa had been run out for 18 months and my passport was about to expire. But that didn't bother me, you know. I was almost on a self-destruct. Substances, drink, girls. The last time I'd seen my father, he said to me, "Don't you go calling on me when you're halfway around the world with nothing." We had a falling out and it never, sadly, I never met him again after that. And one day I woke up in the morning and I thought, end your life. I popped all these pills out on the table and I scooped them up and I swallowed them all. I did the lot in 5 minutes.
Hey folks, Pete here from Thairish Times, and you've read the title, you've seen the bumper, you know we're in for a treat. You know it's going to be a hard-hitting story, and it is a hard-hitting story. It's quite an emotional story, in fact. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump straight into the interview. Paul's going to tell his story. Well, stories, fantastic stories. This one is my personal favorite, right? Of all the ones we've done, this one is my favorite. Please subscribe to the channel as well. I'm nearly on 20k. I'm nearly at 20k. I can see the finish line. I'm like 20k. Whoa. What a journey, man. What a journey. Unbelievable. I remember starting with 0 views and 0 subscribers, and I'm taking it to 20k. Well, nearly there. I need your help, so hit that button and get me to 20k. Thank you very much. Let's go meet Paul. Paul, we're back again for the final episode here.
The final saga.
Fair play to you. As you said yourself off camera, you bared your soul.
I have indeed.
You have.
I have indeed, and I'm so refreshingly surprised at how warm and kind and considerate the comments have been, and it's made me feel great. Yeah. I appreciate the warmth and the sincerity from people that are watching this. It's great. Okay.
Right, so in this episode we're going to talk about the lows,
yes.
the bad times that you've had when traveling, because you said yourself you don't want people to think that you've lived this charming life, and of course when,
that's right, yeah.
When you do a lot of interviews with people, a lot of the time people want to show the positives, right, and they want to kind of big it up, and you'll be surprised. So anyway, take it away. The dark times.
Okay, the dark times. We're going now to about 2 years before I met my wife. So I'd been in Thailand already probably 8 or 9 years. I'd got into the bar scene, you know, I knew the ropes. I had my own motorcycle. I was a streetwise guy, and I kind of just lost the plot. Let's say I lost the plot. And I remember I had a very good friend called Rajesh, who I first met when I first came to Thailand. Indian guy, and he was a great friend of mine. So many stories I could tell you about Rajesh, but we just don't have the time. By this time my visa had been run out for 18 months and my passport was about to expire. But that didn't bother me, you know. I was almost on a self-destruct. Substances, drink, girls. I had no safety net whatsoever, and my friend could see this happening to me. So one day he came to see me. He says, "Paul, I'm concerned about you." He says, "We've got to start to do something to solve this problem." I said, "Like what?" He said, "Well, get your passport renewed." You know, I said, "What's the point?" He said, "It's the first step, you know. You need some help right now, buddy." He said, you know, and I let me advise you, so do it, please. So the following week, I think it was, I made an appointment at the British Embassy in Wireless Road, and I went in there to renew my passport. And he got me in a room, and this guy sat across the table to me, lovely man, forget his name right now, and he said, "Paul," he says, your visa's 18 months out. Do you know what happens to you?" I said, "Yeah, pretty much. IDP, into the detention centre, IDC, until I can get the money to pay the fine and get deported." And he said, "Well, yeah, but in your case, this is an awful lot of money, you know." I said, "But you're on my side, aren't you?" Yeah, we are," he said, "but you're going to have to address this." And I looked at him, I said, "Yeah." So I'm about to leave, and he says, puts his hand on me, he says, "Hang on a minute, Paul. What if I were to tell you that the British Embassy have the money now that's in our possession that's been sent over from England to pay all your overstay fine and get you a flight home. What would you say? I looked at him and I said, sorry, I don't play mind games like that. And I got up to leave and he said, you have a friend called Rajesh. He contacted us last week. He told us the story. We've contacted your father. Your father sent £1,100 sterling here to get you out. And the last time I'd seen my father, he said to me, don't you go calling on me when you're halfway around the world with nothing. We had a falling out and it never, sadly, I never met him again after that. But that was his parting words to me. I disagree with your lifestyle, with what you're doing. Don't ever, ever ask me for any help. And I said, I won't. So upon hearing from this guy in the embassy that my father sent the money, I said, send it back. I don't want it. And I left. The next day, Rajesh comes to see me in my apartment, you know, and I'm drinking there, and he says, Paul, you can't do this. You need to go back. He says, I know you love it here and everything else, but you've got no job now, man. You know, you're in a serious position right now. He says, well, I'm telling you as your best buddy, swallow your pride and take it. Go back to the embassy, talk to that man. So I went back to the embassy and I said to him, okay, here's the deal. I'll go back if you give me any money that's left after it's all sorted out, because I want to buy stuff and sell it back in England and give my dad the money. Couldn't possibly do that, he said. I said, well, the deal's off then. Some backwards and forwards, and he says, this would cost me my job. He said, but I can tell you right now, you won't have an overstay to pay. 500 baht a day or whatever it was then. I think it was 100 baht a day. He says, if you go to the court with the British Embassy with a ticket home, they're going to fine you 2,000 baht. There's no overstay fine for you to pay. So if we did that, there'd be about £700 left. I said, give it to me. He said, what if you never come back? What if I never see you again? What if you don't come to the airport for your ticket? I said, listen, I'm a man of my word and I'm looking you in the eye now and I will be on that flight. And he gave me the money. And I went and bought loads of Rolex copy watches, loads of t-shirts and football stuff, and I put it all in one suitcase and I got back, and within 3 weeks I gave my father his money back. And that made me feel so proud.
Can I ask what happened between you and your dad?
Well, there was a divorce when I was about 16, and my dad kind of tried to do what he could for me, but you know, I had a chip on my shoulder. I blamed my mother, although it really wasn't her fault. It was a question of the pair of them never sat down and actually talked about the problem. They split up. My dad didn't like me going abroad. He was absolutely against that, and it got to the point where I said, well, I'm going, Dad, I'm an adult, I'm 17, got my passport, I'm going. Don't ever ask me for any help when you do then. And that was the last time I spoke to my father before that. And when I got back, he didn't come to see me for a month, which was wonderful because I needed to sell that stuff. And he brought his wife with him who hated me. God, she hated me. And they're sitting in the lounge and she said, and I said, Dad, I said, I was pretty choked up. Dad, I have to say, you were there for me when I needed it, and I'll never forget it. And she went, another £1,100 wasted on this waster. Like me at all.
Jeez, that's a terrible thing to say.
And I went upstairs and came out with an envelope and gave it to my father, £1,100. He went, and he looked at his wife and he went, and I think that was the last time I saw my dad.
What year is this?
God, it's got to be in the 90s. I spent a year in England. And it didn't go well. I knew I had to get out of Thailand because I was a desperate state, in the head. I got back to England and it wasn't where I wanted to be. And I kind of felt like there's nowhere I can escape from this. And one day I woke up in the morning and I thought, end your life. This is it. And the moment I thought that, this weight lifted off my shoulders and I was happy with the idea. So I was in Northampton. I went to a pharmacy and I said, what's the strongest painkiller, non-prescription? And I think it was ibuprofen. And I got 4 of the biggest boxes they had, something like 80 pills in each. And I went across the corridor to a coffee shop and I ordered a Coke with ice, and I popped all these pills out on the table and I scooped them up and I swallowed them all. I did the lot in 5 minutes. And I thought, great, I know exactly where I'm going to go and lay down at the back of the bus station. Nobody will, it'll be too late when they find me. I knew I had a bit of time, so I went into the pub across the street and I ordered my very last pint of beer. And I savoured that beer and thought, I'll just go and sleep now, and that's the end of it. It's the end of all this pain and torment. And I just felt wonderful about it. And the next thing I know, there's tubes going down my throat. I'm in a hospital. Apparently what had happened is some old woman who was homeless and lived out of a shopping cart saw me laying down and looked at my clothes, and she thought, he's not a bum. So she called the ambulance and they came and got me. Lowest of low now. I'm handcuffed to a bed and I can't even look anyone in the eye. I'm furious that it didn't work out. Furious. And they gave me my space. They didn't really do much with me. I had to drink all this black charcoal stuff to get all of this stuff out of my liver. And so they made me do that, and my attitude was, as soon as I can get out of here, I'll run in front of a bus, because you can't mess that one up. I then was told the next day that I have to go and see these guys. There's 3 guys in this room. We sit there and, what's happened with you then, young man? Made a mistake. What was that? I didn't take enough pills, or I didn't do it right, because I don't want to be here anymore. So they had a murmur. 28 days. I was sectioned for 28 days under the Mental Health Act.
What was that like?
They took me to this huge place in, where was it? Southall, in southern London. An old 19th century asylum, foreboding gates and doors that open, and they took me in there and put me in this ward with all these other crazy people, and it was like one from the cuckoo's nest for me, People were walking around talking to themselves, and some were just sitting there like this rocking, And I kept myself to myself for 3 days. Then I had to sit with this psychiatrist, a nice woman, and we had to talk about stuff, And she helped me. She said to me, look, whatever the pressures you're feeling, you're now in a place where there's no pressure on you at all. You don't have to worry about where you're going to sleep. You don't have to worry about what you're going to eat. And we just want you to stay here until this feeling that you want to kill yourself passes. So chill out, You're not under pressure right now. And that kind of hit home to me. And I thought, no, I'm not under pressure. Long story short, within 10 days, I made a decision never to try and end my life again, and did all the right things, and I got out. Got myself a job, and about 8 months after that, I came to Thailand for the very last time.
Right, so you mentioned earlier that the reason why you went back to the UK is that you weren't right in the head.
Yes.
In Thailand.
Yes.
What was going on with you in Thailand?
Well, as you know a little bit now, I'd had this amazing life and gone over and done all these things, and now I got no goal. I know I don't want to travel anymore. I'm getting browned off with the teaching, and I'm immersing myself in mind-altering substances and female company just because it's there. And even I knew that that's not going to end well, and my good friend Rajesh talked me into going back. And he said, don't see it as a step back. It's not. You're going back to a place where you can recuperate, get yourself together, and come back again. You've done it so many times. There's nothing you can't do. And I'm like, yeah, he's right. There's nothing I can't do. So I did go back, and I came back just short of 2 years later. And I'd been back here a year when I met my wife, and that kind of changed everything for me, yeah.
So Paul, you've said before that you live a hermit's lifestyle, you've withdrawn from society, right? So my question to you is, why did you do these interviews with me?
Okay. That's a good question. I bumped into your channel and you were interviewing some guy who'd been here for 20 or 30 years, and I started to watch it, and I got an instant connection with you. I thought, yeah, this guy's a sound guy. And I think I made a comment about, oh wow, I've got some stories to tell or something like that, and we hooked up there. I've always wanted to get my travel experiences out there. That's why I wrote the book, you know. And I saw this as, well, okay, you know, you're bearing your soul here, but you have something to tell that people seem to be interested in. So I decided I would.
So Paul, why do you live a hermit's lifestyle?
Okay, why do I live a hermit's lifestyle? Well, it's not really too much to do with external stuff, you know. I have some good friends. I can be on touch with them online. I don't have the desire to travel anymore. I don't need to go anywhere. And at the same time, my wife taught me how to meditate. And it was a wonderful thing. She can sit for hours. I can manage 40 minutes so far. But the feeling I get from it tells me that my outward journey is over. You know, I've had all these wonderful experiences, and I will smile on my deathbed because I know I went for it and had some amazing experiences, but my journey is now within. So I feel that's right for me to detach myself from society so I can explore the inner spirituality path that I have. And Buddhism gave me that. Buddhism awakened that in me, and I'm ever grateful for that. You know, I had lots of intense conversations in Thai with old Buddhist monks, and they said to me, look, you have to understand that the Thai people, the majority of the Thai people, they just take the surface of Buddhism. They are kind, yes, they do believe in karma, but they'll go to the worship, the monks, and they'll go to worship Buddha at the temple and do all these things, but that's really not what Buddhism is all about. It's really all about how to find happiness within yourself. For me, it's not a religion, it's a philosophy. And I feel that the time is right for me to sit with myself for long periods of time and be in touch with my higher self, because I know I have one. I often think somebody up there is looking after me, and as you can imagine with all what's happened to me, you know, countless car and bike accidents I've had that we've never spoken about, you know, loads, scars all over. Yeah, there's no more to do for me. There's no more to do, and I've always had an excessive personality. I've always overdone everything, including work, and so I've overdone everything, and there's nothing more for me to externally project or to get. I don't derive anything from society. I'm happy to be with myself, my family, with this little piece of land that we have here, my two great dogs. I want for nothing. I have a wonderful wife. God, if I lived to 100, I could never repay her for all the things she's done for me. And it never ceases to amaze me how somebody with no experience in the world at all could teach me stuff. But yes, she has, and I take my hat off to her, and I'm the proud father of two great sons. They really are good. They do everything for me now, and I couldn't be a happier person. I really couldn't be. You know, I do want to make that clear that I don't need any support from anybody. I found my happiness. Finally found my happiness.
Well, we'll leave it there, Paul.
And
pleasure.
I just have one last thing to say.
Go ahead.
I have one last thing to say. Many times I was asked in Thailand, where did you study? You know, university. And I always just say, I've got a PhD from Life University. Where's that? I go everywhere. You know, and I would say to them, I have a PhD in life because I went out and did it all, you know, and so that. And the other thing I want to say is, I stumbled upon an amazing definition of the word ecstasy. Yeah. You know, ecstasy. I'm not talking about the substance. I'm talking about the emotion, ecstasy. So you want to hear this great definition of ecstasy?
What is it?
It's not mine. I stole it from someone else. It's ecstasy. It's a feeling you feel when you feel you're going to feel a feeling that you feel you've never felt before. So I'll leave everybody to ponder that one. And it's been wonderful talking to you, Pete.
Pleasure. I wish you all the best. Whatever happens down the line for you, only the best for you.
Well, I shall be turning over another page of my life every morning, and I can promise everybody that I do not take any risks whatsoever now. And I'm happy in my old age. And yes, I am old. I realised that 3 minutes into the first video. I'm like, is that me?
And a great talker as well.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Cheers.
So
Legend. So, folks, leave us a comment. What you think?
And if you want to hear all about...
He's gone again.
If you want to hear all about the experience, buy my travelling book, A Wanderer's Words. You will not be disappointed.
There you go. Plug the book. Yeah, fair play. All right. Link in the description for Paul's book. And leave a comment down below, folks, what you think. And subscribe to the channel. Like, share the video. And I must say, 5 videos of Paul. Fantastic stories, each one of them. So,
thank you so much for letting me do this.